Hey, what's going on there, guys? Nick here from Absolute MTG, and today we're going to be taking a look at a deck tech for Oona, Queen of the Fae EDH. It's been some time since I've done an EDH deck. It's probably been like a year or a year and a half, and after I did the Commander 2013 sets, I got a lot of feedback from people that said that they wanted me to do EDH decks on the channel, and I decided to revisit Oona because that is my favorite general in the format. And I really enjoy playing this deck, and I have changed it up a little bit. So I am going to share it with you guys here today. The entire deck list is in the description where you guys can use it as a reference if you want to build this or you want to build it and tweak it or whatever. And there's also a deck list via tappedout.net that you guys can check out as well, where if you scroll over the names of the cards with your cursor, images will pop up and you can read them better. So let's take a look at Oona. So what does Oona do? She's very shiny, so I have to tilt her for you guys to be able to read her, but she's a 5/5 for 6, 3 generic and triple hybrid Dimir. She has flying, and for X amount of mana and 1 blue or 1 black, we get to choose a color. Target opponent exiles the top X amount of cards from his or her library, and for each card of the chosen color exiled this way, we get to put a 1/1 blue and black fairy rogue creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So she seems like a pretty fair general. It doesn't seem like anything way too broken, but we have a lot of different combos that are going off in this deck, and one of them is being able to capitalize on infinite mana. So when we do have infinite mana, that is infinite generic mana because I don't have Candelabra in this deck. Whenever we have infinite generic mana, we are going to be able to just beat all of our opponents as long as we have enough like blue or black mana to be able to initiate the other part of her ability aside from the X. Oona is basically here just as another combo win condition. Like whenever we do have the infinite mana, we can go and just smash. We can play this deck very fair. Like if we don't get any tutors or we don't get any combos going off, we can play the deck fair, but it's much more fun and much more broken whenever you're doing a lot of combos, and we do have a lot of them that are going on in here. So let's take a look at what all we have in this deck. So for our Planeswalkers, I'm playing Jace Beleren. I have Jace the Mind Sculptor. I have Jace Memory Adept. Tezzeret the Seeker and Tezzeret Agent of Bolas. So both of these are good because our deck is very artifact heavy, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. Like if people are playing a lot of artifact hate, then of course we're going to be a little bit more poorly positioned. However, all of the artifacts that we have are going to help us accelerate along and just be able to do a lot of dumb stuff, especially whenever we just smash the board with like a Death Cloud and be able to like set it back to turn 0. We have Liliana Vess, which is essentially a tutor for us. That's probably the biggest thing that I enjoy having her in the deck here for. For our acceleration and fixing, we have Mox Diamond. We have Everflowing Chalice. We have Mana Vault, Soul Ring, which is pretty standard with all commander decks nowadays. Mind Stone. We have Dimir Signet. Grim Monolith. So Grim Monolith is going to combo off alongside Basalt Monolith with Power Artifact, where we are going to reduce that untap cost by 2. So it's going to tap for 3 and we can untap it for 2. And the same thing goes with Basalt Monolith, only taps for 3 and untaps for 3, so it's going to tap for 3 and untap for 1 if we put Power Artifact on it, and you guys will see it later in this in the deck tech whenever we get to the combos and stupid stuff that's going on. We have Coalition Relic for more mana fixing, Thran Dynamo for acceleration, Gilded Lotus for acceleration and fixing as well. For our board wipes in the deck, I'm playing a lot of them. One of them is Black Sun Zenith. We have Toxic Deluge from the new Commander set. Death Cloud to be able to essentially set back the game to like turn 0. And the nice thing about it is that even though we are getting rid of like all of our lands and everything that's on the battlefield, like we're making everybody discard and sack all their creatures and all their lands, the nice thing is we still get to retain our artifacts, enchantments, and planeswalkers, which could be good. It's kind of tricky sometimes whenever you're trying to play around what your opponent has, but ultimately if we have enough mana fixing and mana acceleration, it really shouldn't matter if we lose our lands. So it's great for that. We have Damnation. to be able to destroy all creatures. They can't be regenerated. Life's Finale, just as another kind of plain board wipe. We also get to see what it's in our opponent's library as well, or in one of them at least. We have All Is Dust to be able to have each player sack all colored permanents they control. For the tutors in our deck, and searching and card acceleration and drawing, we have Mystical Tutor, we have Demonic Tutor, Fabricate to search for artifacts that could either be combos or just things to help us out with fixing and whatnot. We have Trinket Mage, which is going to allow us to... Usually I'm going to be searching for like Sensei's Divining Top or like Soul Ring. Trinket Mage doesn't really have like a massive amount of implications, but Trinket Mage definitely still is really good in this deck to be able to search up for some stuff. We have Diabolic Revelation, so the more mana that we can invest in it, the easier it's going to be for us to get combos, and especially the variety of combos that we have in here. We have Brainstorm, draw 3, put back 2. Lim-Dul's Vault, which is kind of like a tutor, but not really a tutor. It's still a fantastic card in this type of a deck, and it's really sweet to see it reprinted. Scroll Rack. We have Rhystic Study, to be able to draw cards if our opponent doesn't want to pay more for the spells that they're casting. Phyrexian Arena, lose 1 and draw 1 extra card every turn, essentially. Factor Fiction. And now we're getting into the combos. So now we get to explain the way that combos are going to be working. So Temple Bell is the first one. Temple Bell is going to combo with Mind Over Matter. So each player draws a card, and if we have Mind Over Matter, we can discard a card and tap or untap target artifact, creature, or land. So we draw a card, or we force everybody to draw a card off Temple Bell. We discard a card with Mind Over Matter, and we untap Temple Bell, and then we tap it again, and we keep on rinsing and repeating that, where we're going to make everybody draw their entire deck. And the way that we don't lose is we have Ulamog in this deck, which we can discard it, and whenever it's put into the graveyard from anywhere, its owner is going to shuffle his or her graveyard into his or her library. So it's kind of our buffer to not actually lose the game. So that's the first combo that we have. It's a fun combo to get off and going whenever we can just smash everybody at the same time. Even though this deck is probably a little bit more better suited for like 1v1 games, it can still do well up against multiplayer games. We have a Leyline of the Void, which is kind of like one of the more traditional combos that we have with Helm of Obedience. So Leyline of the Void is going to make it so that if a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. And if it's in our opening hand at the beginning of the game, we get to put it into play. The way that it works with Helm of Obedience is that for X amount of mana and tap, we are going to put the top card of target opponent's library into his or her graveyard. We continue to do that until they've put X cards or a creature card into their graveyard, whichever one is first. The way that it works with Helm of Obedience is that because Leyline of the Void is out there, it works the same way as like Rest in Peace as well. Because that card is out there, and because there's the replacement effect happening, Helm of Obedience is going to keep on milling until your opponent doesn't have any cards in their deck because it's not meeting either of the requirements. So the Helm and Leyline combo is in here, and it's pretty fun to do. We also have Cloud Key, which is going to combo with Sensei's Divining Top. So with Cloud Key, we are going to reduce the cost of spells that we play, and we can either choose Artifact, Creature, Enchantment, Instant, or Sorcery. And of course, spells you play of the chosen type cost 1 less to play. So if we choose Artifact, since the Divining Top is going to be 0 to actually put into play. And the way that this works is we're either going to have Future Sight or Magus of the Future, where we play with the top card of our library revealed, and we can play the top card of our library as though it was in our hand. So both cards are essentially the same thing. They're the same mana cost, only one of them's an enchantment, the other one's a creature. So the way that it works is we can draw as many cards as we want by using Sensei's Divining Top, putting it back on top of our library and drawing a card, and we get to put the Sensei's Divining Top back into play and then just get to rinse and repeat that. So it effectively allows us just to draw infinite amount of cards, or however many cards we want to draw until we get to like our combos or anything. We also have Thopter Assembly and Time Sieve. So at the beginning of our upkeep, if we don't control any Thopters other than Thopter Assembly, return them to our hand, and we put 5/1/1 Thopter artifacts onto the battlefield, and then with Time Sieve we sack 5 artifacts and take an extra turn. So if we have the mana to be able to play Thopter Assembly every single turn, we take infinite turns, and we just beat our opponent based on that. Especially fun for 1v1 games. We have the Teferi lock, so Teferi and Knowledge Pool, which is another pretty well-known combo in Magic. So Teferi is going to make it so that opponents can't cast spells unless they're casting them at a sorcery speed. And the way that Knowledge Pool works is that whenever a player casts a spell from his or her hand, that player exiles it, and if that player does, he or she may cast another non-land card exiled with Knowledge Pool without paying that card's mana cost. And Teferi says, no, you can't do that because you have to cast things at a sorcery speed, and Knowledge Pool is going to exile that spell so that they can't cast it. So basically you make it so that opponents cannot play spells out of their hand, which is just fantastic. They can still cast their commanders out of their command zone, but they can't cast spells out of their hand, which is just fine. So Teferi Knowledge Pool lock is always great. We of course have Power Artifact, which I mentioned before, making our Basalt and Grim Monolith tap for infinite mana. We have Mindslaver in here, which Mindslaver is going to be a combo with Academy Ruins, where we get to keep on taking our opponent's turn. It's really only effective in like 1v1 situations where we just get to keep on taking our opponent's turn for them. But with Academy Ruins and the appropriate amount of mana open every single turn, we can just manipulate our opponent to the point of their own demise. And then we have standalone cards in our deck. So we have Snapcaster Mage, which allows us to flashback cards like our tutor spells that we have in the deck, which is very useful. Wurmcoil Engine, which is just a big fat Titan-esque creature, 6/6 for 6, Death Touch, Lifelink. We have Consecrated Sphinx, allowing us to draw more cards based on our opponent drawing cards. Tidespout Tyrant, so whenever we play a spell, return target permanent to its owner's hand. And all of these are kind of like more fair cards. They're cards that you would see in like non-combo decks. We have Batterskull, just making a 4/4 Vigilance Lifelink Germ dude. We have 2 counterspells in the deck. One of them is just counterspell, the other one is Cryptic Command. I'm not really too heavy on counterspells for this type of a deck. I just want to be focusing more on combos. We have Phyrexian Metamorph, Sculpting Steel, and Copy Artifact to be able to copy up artifacts that we have out. Phyrexian Metamorph can also become a copy of a creature on the battlefield as well, so there's the plus side of that. We have Boomerang to return target permanent to its owner's hand. Propaganda to make it much more difficult for our opponent to be able to attack us or to deter them away from attacking us in a multiplayer situation. Each turn, each creature cannot attack you unless its controller pays an additional 2 mana for that creature. Crucible of Worlds, so if we cast the Death Cloud and just smash all of the lands off the table, we can recast those lands from our graveyard, which is great. We can also strip mine and keep on strip mining our opponent's lands in a 1v1 scenario as well with Crucible of Worlds. We have Force Fruition, so whenever an opponent plays a spell, that player draws 7 cards. Just an easy way to mill out all of your opponents, and I enjoy milling opponents whenever I'm playing this deck in a fair manner. Rings of Red here, so the Rings is able to combo off with Basalt Monolith to make infinite mana as well because of the untap ability. You duplicate the untap ability, and essentially it's going to cost 5 mana to untap Basalt Monolith twice, if I can talk today, and you're going to net 1 mana every single time. So out of the 2 taps that you're going to get out of Basalt Monolith, it makes 6 mana, and 5 of it is going to untap it twice, so every time you're just making 1 mana, and that's an easy way to get infinite mana with the Rings. So it does that, and it also duplicates Planeswalker abilities, which is just fantastic as well. So Rings is just great for that, being able to use multiple abilities off of Planeswalkers. Of course, it doesn't manipulate the way that the activation cost goes, and it doesn't buff up their loyalty, but getting 2 instances of a activated ability is just fantastic. And then we have Mind Grind, so another easy way to win whenever we have infinite mana. We can just make it so that our opponent is going to mill out their entire deck. And then we have Traumatize. So Traumatize is the last card of the deck, and it is probably one of my more favorite cards from when I started playing Magic. Target player puts the top half of his or her library rounded down into his or her graveyard. So being able to just mill your opponent for half of their library is always pretty sweet, and it definitely fits the theme of Oona with being able to mill out opponents. And then the last part of the deck is just to take a look at the land base that we have. We have Creeping Tar Pit, we have Watery Grave, Sunken Ruins, Guar Refuge, Dimir Guildgate, Temple of Deceit, Salt Marsh, Dimir Aqueduct, Secluded Glen, River of Tears, Drowned Catacomb, Frost Marsh, Dark Water Catacombs, Vivid Marsh, and Vivid Creek. We have Barren Moor and Lonely Sandbar. Teleria West to be able to transmute into other lands that we need. Rupture Spire, Transguild Promenade, Command Tower. We have Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth to be able to make all land swamps. And Maze of Ith to be able to manipulate what our opponent's attacking with and just make it a lot harder for them to connect and deal damage. Ancient Tomb to accelerate us along when we need more basic mana, basic generic mana in the earlier parts of the game. Thespian Stage, so Thespian Stage to be able to have it become a copy of utility lands or any useful lands that our opponent has, and it's also useful to copy up other lands that we have if we need them as well. Academy Ruins to be able to combo off with Mindslaver, and just in general putting artifacts on the top of our library is useful whenever our opponent has artifact hate or anything like that. Strip Mine to destroy lands, and then we have our basics. So I'm just running 3 basic swamps and 3 basic islands. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this deck tech. This is definitely one of my more favorite EDH decks to play whenever I do play EDH. The entire deck list is down below where you guys can check it out and use it as a reference, and there's also that link to tappedout.net where you guys can check that out as well. And there are more links down in the description, like my Facebook and Twitter pages, where you guys can follow me on there. But until next time, guys, thank you for watching, and peace out.